All right, let's talk about a major shift that's coming in the world of corporate tax, one that's set to change everything for large UK businesses. To help us all get our heads around it, the experts at My Tax Accountant have put together this entire briefing. So, let's get right into it.
So I've got to start with the big question, the one that should be on the mind of every finance professional right now. Is your company's tax information ready to be seen by, well, everyone? Because come 2026, for a lot of you, this isn't just a possibility anymore. It's a reality that is approaching very fast.
So how in the world do you navigate something this big? Don't worry, we're going to break it all down. Here's our game plan. We'll kick things off with the big picture, why this is all happening. Then we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the global blueprint behind it. We'll figure out exactly who needs to report, what you've got to disclose, and most importantly, how you can get ready. Then we'll wrap it all up with your essential next steps.
Okay, first up, we are entering a totally new era of transparency. You know, the whole idea of corporate tax affairs being a closely guarded secret? Yeah, those days are pretty much over.
And you need to know, this isn't just some UK-specific rule change. Oh no, this is a coordinated global movement. You've got powerful groups pushing hard to answer a question the public's been asking for years. Are the biggest companies paying their fair share of tax right where they actually make their profits?
Honestly, the biggest push we've seen so far has come from the EU. They've gone ahead and made public tax reporting mandatory. And that sets a huge precedent that directly affects any large UK business that has a significant footprint on the continent. The direction of travel is crystal clear.
So how exactly is all this transparency being rolled out? Well, that brings us to the global blueprint for this whole thing. And it's all about one fundamental shift, moving from private reporting to very public reporting.
The tool they're using is called country-by-country reporting, or CBCR for short. Now, at its heart, the idea is actually pretty straightforward. It just means that large multinational groups have to file a report every year that breaks down all their key financial data. We're talking revenue, profit, taxes, for every single country they're in.
This slide just nails the change. For years, this kind of reporting has been going on, but it was all behind closed doors, a private chat between a company and HMRC. But now, it's basically becoming a public report card. Just think about that for a second. Your key financial info published online for anyone to see. Journalists, investors, activists, even your direct competitors. It's a complete game changer.
Which, of course, leads us to the million-dollar question, or in this case, the multi-million-pound question. Who exactly is on the hook for this? Let's get into the details.
Okay, the key number you need to burn into your memory is this, roughly £650 million. If your multinational group has total revenues of more than 750 million euros, which is about £650 million, for 2 years in a row, then congratulations, you're in scope. That's the main trigger.
And believe me, the net is cast pretty wide. This isn't just for big companies headquartered here in the UK. If you're a big American or Asian company with a major branch or subsidiary here in Britain or anywhere in the EU, you're almost certainly caught by these rules too. Even some very large standalone UK companies will have to comply.
Now, just to be super clear, if you're a freelance graphic designer working from your flat in London, or you run a small local business, you can take a deep breath. This isn't aimed at you. This legislation is targeted squarely at the Goliaths of the corporate world.
So we know who has to report. But what are they actually going to have to, well, reveal? What information is going to be out there for everyone to scrutinize? Take a look at this list. This isn't just a simple headline number. Companies will have to lay out their revenues, their profits before tax, and even how many employees they have in each and every country. But here's the really juicy part. They have to show both the tax they've accrued for the year and the tax they've actually paid in cash. Any big difference between those two numbers? You can bet that's going to raise some eyebrows.
Okay, here's a little pro tip for you. There is something called the safeguard clause. It's a potential escape hatch that might let a company delay publishing commercially sensitive information for up to 5 years. But, and this is a massive but, that clause is completely off the table for any data related to places on the EU's tax haven blacklist. There's absolutely no hiding there.
Right. This brings us to what is probably the most important part of our chat today. How can you actually prepare for this? We've laid out the challenge. Now let's talk about the solutions. And seriously, stay with me here, because this next point is absolutely crucial.
Now, you might be sitting there in the UK thinking, hang on, this is an EU rule. Why should my UK-only business be so worried? Well, as tax experts like Pinson Masons have pointed out, with the entire EU and now Australia demanding these public reports, the global pressure on the UK to do the same is just huge. It's not a matter of if, but when.
And here's the real kicker. The UK government doesn't even need to pass a big new law to make this happen. The power is already on the books, written into the Finance Act way back in 2016. The mechanism is already there, basically just waiting for a minister to flip the switch.
So let's talk about the timeline, because this is coming up much faster than you might think. For most companies, the financial year that starts in 2025 is the first one they'll have to report on. That means all the data needs to be pulled together and checked in early 2026, because there's a hard deadline to publish that first report by December 31st, 2026. That is not a lot of time.
So what should you be doing right now? First, assess your scope. Get a definitive answer on whether you're over that $650 million threshold. Second, get your data processes in order. This has to be a robust, global effort. Third, and this one is absolutely vital, start crafting your narrative. Raw numbers without context can be easily twisted, so you need to tell the story behind them. And finally, look at your tech. The right software could save you a world of pain.
Okay, let's bring this all together and talk about your essential next steps.
So if you remember nothing else from this, remember these 4 things. 1. Public tax reporting is no longer a future concept, it's here. 2. The threshold is about £650 million in group revenue. 3. That first report is due by the end of 2026. And 4. The time to start preparing was yesterday.
Look, navigating this new world of tax transparency is incredibly complex, and getting it wrong carries a huge reputational risk. You really don't want to go it alone. For expert professional guidance on these new rules or any other tax questions you have, get in touch with the team at My Tax Accountant. You can call them on 0208-570-8531. Now, just a quick and important disclaimer. This information has been for general guidance. To make financial decisions for your specific business, you must always consult with a qualified professional, like the experts we've just mentioned. So I'll leave you with one final thought. When your numbers finally go public, what story are they going to tell?